You know, one question we get a lot is what kind of line, how heavy of line to use for panfish, especially for bluegills and crappies. And for the most part, you know, we're using either 1 pound, 2 pound, 3 pound, or 4 pound test. If you're using heavier than 4 pound test, I guarantee if you drop down in line size, you're going to catch way more fish. Now, the thing about this is that there's an adage, you use the lightest line possible, but here's the thing, is you get too light, you're going to start breaking fish off. That's just the reality of it. So we've been places where we had to use 1 pound test. You know, there's some of the natural lakes in Iowa, for example, come to mind where really clear water, heavy fishing pressure, those fish just want that light line. And so there are situations where you have to use 1 pound test. Now, when would I use 4 pound test? Maybe if I'm fishing crappies up in pencil reeds and those crappies are fighting, you know, to the side of the hole and they're wrapping up on pencil reeds. You know, that's a situation where you might want to, you know, use a heavier line or even sometimes fluorocarbon because, you know, typically we're always using monofilament, you know, with bluegills especially. Now, my favorite line overall is just 3 pound frost mono, which is what I'm using here. Just a nice compromise where it feels like 2 pound test, but it's just got a little bit heavier strength. And the big thing with line though is make sure that you change your line often. If you haven't put new line on your reels yet, do that, okay? It's very important. And I think one of the fallacies, you know, as far as sensitivity and getting tough fish to bite is you think, oh, I gotta have a sensitive rod, I gotta have a spring bobber. On a tough bite, nothing is more important than your line. The biggest thing is when you put a loop in that line, what does that line do? You want that line just to hang, just like that. No twist in your line, because if that line starts to twist up or starts to wrap up on your rod tip, what this jig is doing is it's just spinning really fast when you stop it, stall it, or just let it hang. And so if that jig turns fast or spins fast, when those fish come right up to it, they don't want nothing to do with it. You want that jig just to hang. You just get the most natural quiver on that jig, where that head is pointing one direction, that tail's pointing the opposite direction, and it's just consistent. Okay, that way those fish can key in on it and focus on it and hit it. If it's turning, they just don't want it once these fish get close. Okay, and so what you'll see is when you do get twist in the line, if you pound that rod tip and get that jig to bounce, you can take some of that twist out, but that's the only move that you have, is just trying to get those aggressive fish to hit that hard cadence. Once you got to stop, once you have to slow down and let that jig hang, where less is more, you just have to let that tail come alive, that's where that twist can kill you, okay? And so make sure you change your line often. So whether you're using an old school schoolie reel, using a spooler reel like this, or using a spinning reel, watch that line. If you start seeing twist in that line, change your line. You're going to catch way more panfish this winter.